Welcome to KC Happy Hour. I am obviously in a little bit of a different situation with our studio here tonight because we got into Miami yesterday. For those of you that have been following along on all of our socials, we are going live with our first of 20 plus race weekend live streams here this year. So we wanted to get in really early, make sure we're all set up. So I'm live from the Fairfield Inn here in Homestead. We've got a ton of different guests here this week as some of our drivers are already here in Miami getting ready, on the way to Miami to do some coaching or kind of all over the place. So we want to go over with some of our new guests that we brought onto the show, and of course, some familiar faces. You guys remember Race Liberante, Mr. Race Factor USA himself, is joining us here tonight. One of our regulars has been able to make it in. That is our man Connor Zillish, our resident underage student, who's got his braces on.
Me. Yeah,
looks beautiful. You look great, Connor.
Good, right?
On the show
Thank
with
you,
us.
Xander.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
And we have three of our KC team members, two of who will be on-air personalities here this weekend, joining us tonight. One who will not be on air is Aaron Hachmeister, but he is a guy who we will be featuring on air as the season goes on and put him in more broadcast situations. You guys will remember Caleb Smock. He joined me in the broadcast booth at the IAMA USA Grand National Championship, and joining us for her first weekend part of the Kart Chaser team, but she'll be with us for all of 2022, is Jenna Thome, who will be joining Caleb on the pit reporter duty. So, guys, we have a lot to talk about here tonight. First of all, Race himself was involved in one of two events that made up nearly 7 total days of on-track action over last week. And I wanted to make sure specifically that we picked a picture that showed Race in the spot where he found himself, and that was unfortunately not out front at Daytona KartWeek, which was the opening weekend of a 7-day stretch here in Florida to kick off what was the beginning of a lot of touring events. And we'll have the winners of the event coming across the screen. There were a lot of major notables coming out of the event. First of all, shout out to Gavin Bailiff and Jeremy Fletcher winning the headline KA100 senior class over the weekend. We'll talk to Race a little bit about his weekend, give you guys his thoughts on it. But Daytona, to be honest, look, everybody knows that has watched the show from day one. I love to give WK a hard time. A lot of people in the karting industry do. I did want to applaud them, and I applauded them a few shows back because they kind of simplified their format. In the previous year of Daytona, back in 2020, going into the 2021 season, they had a really awkward format where they ran a bunch of different classes, for many only 1 day, some on 2 days, and like a weird 3-day hybrid where you basically, if you wanted to make the most of your trip all the way down to Daytona Beach, Florida, you had to own multiple different engines. This year, they went back to a simplified format. They completely cut out the 125 classes, didn't have any shifter classes, had a really grassroots format with Marga Ignite divisions, with 206 classes, and of course with 100cc with the IAMA K100 engine. Race, you were part, of course, of the event, of the major turnout for KA100. And even for a guy like yourself, there were a couple big rookies that are going to be looking really good into some of the major events this weekend, including the SKUSA Winter Series that were up front. Jeremy Fletcher obviously won on the second day. Gavin Bailiff was quick. First, let's hear your weekend since we've got you on the show, and then talk to you about the experience of Daytona this year.
Yeah, this was actually my first time racing Daytona KartWeek. I've been there a few times as a tuner and a coach, but never actually got to participate. So it's always been a bucket list race for me to go race Daytona. So finally got to check it off the list, and had a decent time. I think a lot of us actually struggled, I think, with the tires. The Vega Green was a tire that I don't think really any of us ever race on. So that was a struggle. That surface, that for anybody that has raced at Daytona already knows, that surface is already a struggle. So to add a different tire to the mix made it a little difficult. So I was for sure behind the 8-ball showing up with, I thought I was going to show up. The old tire, the old Vega Green, had a really sticky front, and this one just seemed to not hook up. So I brought the wrong frame to this one. So I just had to make some crazy adjustments, but ended up getting up to a podium spot on Saturday after I qualified. I think I qualified 13th. So some good progression. And then Sunday, honestly, I thought I had a shot to win. I took the lead in a pre-final, and Gavin ripped my rear bumper off on accident during that pass, and was still walking away with it with no bumper on the back, which usually is kind of impossible to do. So I felt super good Sunday and came from the back twice to end up 13th. So not the best weekend, not what I had hoped for, especially like now that I'm transitioning back to 100cc stuff and trying to have a good time doing so. I had a great time racing everybody. Everybody raced somewhat respectful for the most part. Overall, I actually have to disagree with your comment about, I do like that they went to a simple format. that's awesome. They simplified the classes to something that I think WK has always catered towards, which was 100cc racing and that lower, I guess, caliber of racing. Their tag fields were never really big, at least in the West Coast where I raced it in the past. So going back to what they know was a good thing for them. But overall, I think the event lacked that feel that WK Daytona KartWeek always kind of had. So hopefully they can, reel that back in for next year, I guess. But yeah, I just, some things in tech weren't awesome. The trophies were, I know they used to be super huge and big cups and everything, and that's kind of gone away. So that feel of the event, I think, could come back and be cool again. And I think, hopefully next year they do a better job. But overall, it was a go-kart race. Everybody had fun, and do it again next year, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like, I was pretty spoiled, especially when we got into when my first big announcing weekend was right at the beginning of the 2016 season, 2015 kart week, and for whatever reason, that event was explosive. It had just a massive return in numbers. I think we had 50 drivers in X30 senior. So even though all the other classes went up too, they were 20, 30, nearly 40 plus. There was like a big headline division that everyone kind of lined the fences for at the end of the day, and it felt special and like Daytona. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, right? Because I mean, that event was, no matter what the Man Cup or all the other WK series were going through up until the last few years, was a marquee race on the regular calendar, no different than the likes of SuperNats or Rock Island in its heyday, that everyone was like, man, I just can't wait till we get there. And the timing always works really good. So I don't know. And two, I completely forgot the Vega tire changeover was massive, which meant that was two races on at least the same brand of tire, because they were in Vega tires at the second race that week at the CKNA WinterNats. But yeah, and even then, as much as they cleared the classes out, they were still at a full 12 class schedule. So were the practice sessions or any days like feeling like really short on track time? I didn't even really pay attention to how many laps they had you guys run in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, luckily that track's short to begin with. So, a 5-minute practice session was still 6 or 7 laps. So it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I'm always kind of an advocate. I'd rather honestly be on track more often so I can make more changes off track than like have 10-minute sessions and only get 3 or 4 of them. So even though we only got 3 rounds of practice and then they qualified that the first day, which I keep wanting to say Friday. It wasn't a Friday. It was like a Tuesday. That Tuesday felt like it was the longest, hardest working day to get all the way through qualifying. And then everything kind of lightened up after that. But yeah, I mean, on race day, I waited 4 hours between my pre-final and my final. And it was 5 on the first day because of I think there was I don't know if there's a red flag, but they got behind schedule. So yeah, I just think, I hope it stays around. I hope, as much as I don't like talking bad about any series, I just hope they hear this kind of stuff as criticism maybe. And for most people that don't have the means or reason to speak up and call about these guys, but just things like getting your tech together, making sure you have enough transponders, or just like little things like that is what can make or break an event. And I hope next year they can reel that back in, because honestly, I think the event's super cool. I mean, to be going around the same racetrack and getting pictures of yourself with a lay down driving on the big track behind you. I mean, where else are you going to do that in the world? So it's a super cool event. I just hope it can stay around and they can continue to improve every year on running the event.
Yeah, no kidding. And well, we could I want to continue to branch that out as well, because now they've got some special competition, of course, right down the road in terms of the CKNA WinterNats, where a specific 4-cycle series is an option. Because for a lot of 206 guys, I've said it forever. I don't know if I've talked about it too much on the program, but for 4-cycle racing, it's never really, ever since the days of the WK Gold Cup kind of went away, which even then, that was arguably more of a Southeastern regional series that would eventually have some northern dates, but even the northern dates were dwarfed by the southern numbers. It's never had like that lower budget racing. I don't want to say lower form and talk down to those guys, but the lower budget racing has struggled to have national championship series. It's never been an issue to have one marquee event, whether they all come out to Daytona, which has happened in a few years in the past. They all have come out obviously in droves to the 400 entry plus CKNA Grand Nationals, and this year will be a good test for them because now they're having 3 majors, kind of an unofficial national championship with the Winter Nationals in Jacksonville, the Spring Nats in Charlotte, which will probably be a 300 entry plus race, and then another 400 entry plus race at Grands. But that race being new, that was one race wasn't at. That was one a lot of our big name guys weren't at, except for Brandon Jarsacrack. He was down there with one of our partners, the Precision Performance Karting guys. You know, I think for a lot of people was the first exposure to Jacksonville. We obviously talked about it when it was in the discussion potentially for a SKUSA Winter Series date. Didn't end up getting it. They have made some upgrades to the track. They upgraded the lighting system. They repainted it. There's been rumors about it coming under new ownership groups, and I haven't really seen a whole lot of news about that, but I haven't looked into it much, to be honest, with a lot of the stuff we've been trying to button up on our end here on KC. But I wanted to run those results across the line because that was still a big event, especially in terms of the four-cycle world. It's going to be obviously the third biggest four-cycle race in the country this year, behind the CKNA Spring Nats and Grand Nats, maybe kind of up there around with what that Phoenix four-cycle showdown is in terms of total entries. I think they were somewhere around the 150. They were shooting for 175. Had a couple big names. Brandon ended up getting himself a win in the main 206 medium class. Second to James Overbeck, who I wanted to give a shout out to as well, who's a privateer kid most of the time. Sometimes ends up running under the Nitro Kart banner, but had a banner year in junior last year. And there was a poll on Facebook on one of the Briggs groups that I think he got over like 70 votes as like the highest voted like junior standout driver from 2021, which I would agree with because James has had a heck of a season in the four-cycle stuff, and he's been trying to continue to work on their two-cycle program, do more stuff in 100cc, and they're not a big budget operation in any way. No real four-cycle guy really is, but a big congrats to them because, you know, winning at any level, especially when you have guys like Brandon and some old school four-cycle legends in the field like Sean Meyer, Chris Carroll, the like, Corey Tolles. I think Colin Warren was there as well. He was. So, you know, all guys that would be and have won races at every form that we've got in the U.S. from 206 up to tag. So congrats to James. And the winners, of course, going across the bottom of the screen. Brandon, like I said, in 206 medium. Sean Meyer won in heavy. And Todd Barron mopped up in both of the Masters and the Legends classes, which was cool because that means, for those that don't understand the difference, the Masters classes are anywhere from 30 to 35 plus for the series. And then the CKNA guys added in the Legends class, which is 50 plus. So Todd qualifies for the Legends class. He goes down and he also races Masters and beats the guys that are 10, 20 years his younger. So that was pretty cool for him. And I wanted to make sure we lightly touched on all the winners from that as well. And then we obviously had some news come out on what's coming up over these next 2 weeks. For those of you that have been following along, we know we're going live here. We'll have more details again about our live stream and opportunities to answer some questions about Homestead, and we're going to get into that. But big news today that came out, the track map for the Rock Cup Florida Winter Tour opening weekend at Pompano has come out. Let's go through that here next up. There have been some changes from 2021. If you notice at the bottom of the screen, that's been one of the bigger changes I think that they've had of the track from 2021. In fact, even the first sector is a little bit different. It seems like they've made it more of a hairpin section at the top of the racetrack that was kind of more of a left-handed carousel into a right-handed carousel that went around the back section, which should hopefully carry some more speed, because the biggest complaint the drivers had coming out of Pompano in 2021, especially in the Rock Shifter class, which is the headline division for the Rock Cup Florida Winter Tour, it'll probably see 30, 35, maybe 40 drivers there next week in the fastest class that we have in North American karting, is that they couldn't pass. The only pass we saw in the top, I think 10, if not at least the top 5 in the final, was one pass on cold tires down to turn number 1 on a track that had a much slower jump out of the final corner into the first hairpin. So now looking at it, they've obviously got, it's going to be super tight at the very top of the racetrack. You can see that already right now with the 180-degree corner. That's basically going to share a barrier on the inside for both sides of the racetrack. So that'll be interesting to see how the drivers have to navigate, how slow that's probably going to be. But the back half of the racetrack, they made a lot faster. They've got a section on the bottom right corner that is very similar to the last sector in their Rock Vegas racetrack that they typically run. And then it leads into a single hairpin instead of last year. They had 3 switchback hairpins, much like South Garda karting in Lanado. None of the 3 were really a great passing opportunity because there wasn't enough speed to go into there. There may be enough speed for that first one, but the thing that I'm more excited about is that since it's not such a tight 180, and with that little kink, it's going to lengthen the straightaway that they're full throttle on going into turn number 1. It should make turn number 1 a little bit of a better passing zone. I'm hopeful that the 90-degree corners in the top side of the racetrack are pretty quick. So when they come down that short shoot back straightaway, that could be a really good passing zone even for the shifters. And potentially that second to last corner, that's that really tight bend, could be a good passing zone as well. Race, I'm going to allow other guys to talk, but obviously you're a guy with a lot of shifter background. Comparing this to what we saw last year, if you can remember the last year's track map, what were your thoughts seeing this come out here today?
Definitely an improvement for the shifter stuff. I still think 7, 8, 9, and 10 is going to still, it's going to shut down. You know what I mean? Like last year they had some pileups there, and it was just a first and second gear little section. And if I'm thinking the lot's going to be the same size, it looks like the same size area right there, which may keep the racing close, but I don't think it's going to, I even think shutting a pass down in a 7 is going to be super easy. So hopefully, hopefully that last complex going into 1 is going to make a difference. I think 2 to 3, there's going to be an opportunity. And depending on how tight that turn 4 section to 5 is, there might be some opportunity there. But yeah, I mean, it's an improvement, right? I think it'll be better. Hopefully, I think even for the single speeds, I know those guys were so high on gear that they were just revved out on the chip the whole time. So maybe this will hopefully open up a little bit for them. But yeah, definitely a little bit better. I think it's going to be an awesome show regardless. You're going to have all the top guys there. So I think it's going to be cool to watch and see where they can navigate a pass.
Aaron, you're a guy that spent a lot of time both behind the wheel and then on the data station, especially at these events. I mean, what are your thoughts here looking into this track map coming out?
With a lot of, like you said, like it was really low speed. It's kind of like a traffic jam. The last section looks really good. I can see passing opportunities going into 1, probably not 2 or 3, but if you get a good exit out of 3, maybe throwing up that hairpin there, and then coming down the short, like you said, you can make passings on there. Maybe in the last turn, if you want to throw a really big dive bomb on there. So it looks like it might actually make some racing, hopefully a little bit better than I guess what the feedback was last year. I didn't see anything from last year, so I can't really talk to that regard. I have no shifter experience, but in terms of the single speed stuff, you can carry momentum well through some of that. It looks like it presents more opportunity than I guess what was in the years past. It looks like a fun layout to me.
Yeah, Connor, what about you? You raced this track last year. What are your thoughts looking at this thing? You're not going to be running it this year, but you can tell us a little bit about what it was like on the single speed side because you walked away, didn't have to do much passing.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, I think there was one heat race where I got shuffled back and had to pass through, but other than that, I was pretty much out front. But I really enjoyed driving the track last year, but I just, like, I remember when I was leading and it was me, Ryan, and then third place was like Ramos or Ben Cooper, and they like were just white lining it the whole race. And I would come out of the last corner and I'd look over in like the turn 7, 8 complex and I'd see them like white lining it and nobody could get by them. So hopefully there's some better opportunity for passing because that was obviously not fun for the people behind him. But I think it looks like a fun track to race on. I think the shifters will also. I remember watching the shifter race last year, and it was like I'd watched 5 laps and walked away because I was so bored of it. So hopefully it provides for some better racing there.
Yeah, we'll see. Looking over to what we've got coming up. There was big news, of course, over the previous weeks, and we want to talk to our broadcasters about it. So Caleb and Jenna. Jenna, I'll have you go first. Biggest news that we've got going into Winter Series is no pushback bumpers. You spent a lot of time hanging around drivers at these last few races. How excited or anticipated are you? What can we tell our audience about what to expect going for starts?
Well, I don't think there was a start at Supernats they didn't throw. Like, that was the biggest. I think that's one of the biggest differences between USPKS and SKUSA, especially when things are live streamed, that every start it's a green flag. Like everyone's going around turn 1. And I think the carnage from the first 3 turns is probably going to be so much more aggressive than it has been in the past. I'm a little nervous for the health and safety of everyone, but I think it'll make for some really interesting racing.
Caleb, what about yourself, man? I mean, you were obviously in the commentary box for the first time on a big stage with Miami Grands last year. We saw a terrible wreck take out almost all the contenders besides Ryan in the headline show of the weekend, and it made the race pretty boring to watch. And then this weekend, like Jenna said, that was a good point too that we don't really bring up too much. But SKUSA is normally an automatic start with penalties coming after the fact. So what do you think we can expect?
I think it's going to make it a little bit more. I would say when you had the pushbacks, if you were running behind a guy and you had a penalty, it wasn't that big of a deal to plow in front of him. Now that you don't have the now that you don't have the penalty anymore, I think there's going to be a little bit more respect because when I was a kid growing up in racing, we didn't have pushbacks. And one of the series I ran, we actually had the short half bumpers. And there was a respect between drivers. I think when you get into the categories with guys who were around before we had pushback, it may be some better racing since if someone kind of runs you a little dirty, you can move them out of the way without getting a penalty. I think what's going to be interesting, though, is when the kids get on track who haven't ran with pushback or maybe haven't ran with pushback that much, or with mostly pushback and not without pushback. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it, because I don't think it's going to register 100% with them that you can move someone and not get a penalty. So it's going to be interesting. And in the pit lane, I think we might have some interesting content of drivers' opinions on it.
Yeah, no kidding. Connor, we talked to you. You hadn't really been running without a pushback bumper since you moved up from junior almost. And Race, I mean, I haven't had you on the show since this news came out. You're obviously not going to be in town this weekend. Are you excited to not be in town? Or are you a little bummed that you won't be able to sell any broken parts this weekend?
Yeah, I'm not. I just didn't want to be the guinea pig for this one, so I'm gonna sit back and watch how this progresses. I like the idea of doing it. I'm interested to see the back end of that camera system that they've got going on. I read the article in, I think it was T-Kart or Vroom the other day that SKUSA put out. But I am excited that pushbacks are gone. I've never been a fan of them. I still understand their place, and I've understood it since they've come out. I'm not opposed to them being on cadets, and I'm not opposed to them really being on juniors. But I think in a pro class, to really establish the level of respect that the top driver, or really just those drivers, should have for each other, is more important to establish at a pro level. So I think the X30 class and the shifters should have really never had them. But I'm interested to see what happens in the mini and the junior fields more than anything, because I was at the last time we didn't use pushbacks in NOLA and watched that main event take 4 different green flags. So hopefully, I expect a transition period for sure, where people are going to have to get used to, really you can't white line anymore. So those days are really gone, or you're just going to get moved. And that's kind of how it's always been, but now you can get away with it. So depending on how hard they're going to crack down on, aggressive driving or whatever they consider that, I think is going to be what makes or breaks if this works.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. I think I've talked to at least half the promoters in the industry race-wise that are all like, man, I'm glad it's not my race that's the guinea pig for not having the pushbacks. But they are all going to be tuning in to watch. And again, it's obviously cool for us with our first live stream because everyone's going to want to watch our stuff to see what happens. I'm purposely going to make sure that we have a really, really good angle in the first sector to watch the start because they're going to be gnarly. But there have even been some changes to the racetrack since I was even in town 3 weeks ago when we had the Sunshine State Karting Challenge event. We talked about on the show about a month ago that AMR Motorplex was going to be making some changes to this racetrack. As you can see on your screen here, they've got the highlighted green sections. And so going over those really, really quickly, every green section on the racetrack as of the beginning of December was turned into grass. So they turned a bunch of what was asphalt runoff, which was a huge collaboration project with AMR Motorplex and with Homestead Miami Speedway, because originally we weren't even sure if this was going to be an option. Nearly 5 years ago, almost now to 2017, when the contract went through for AMR and VKG Entertainment to take over this racetrack, that it would be able to do a ton of customization because this is a semi-permanent track by definition. You can see the road on the top right-hand corner. That's pedestrian fence most of the time because as soon as NASCAR rolls into town, this becomes a handicap and VIP parking lot that they wanted to keep asphalt. It is the only spectator parking lot that they have that is asphalt. The rest are a bunch of grass fields. So taking away any potential parking spaces was obviously up in the question and really was not even a question. It didn't seem like it was going to be possible. But the Homestead Miami Speedway is all behind karting. They've been a huge supporter and a huge partner at AMR Motorplex in helping them put on all the projects they have. And so, again, great collaboration with them. So this was the original set of changes. Every curb highlighted in yellow was raised up to the CIK standards, which you'll find at the likes of NOLA Motorsports Park in the majority of the corners, as well as AMR or GoPro Motorplex, the sister racetrack to AMR Homestead. That said, they have made some changes since the track did come out. In turns 1 and 2, which is at the bottom of your screen, when we came to town for the race for the Sunshine State Karting Challenge, it rained on Sunday afternoon. And the sod and the grass had only been planted in for all of 2 weeks. And it already instantly been getting driven on, which meant it was getting ripped up before the grass had time to root into the ground. Whereas the grass sections go in the opposite way, like the grass going in this direction with the turns labeled the way that they are that is on the entry to the corner, that hadn't been touched. But when they'd have random drivers come out on practice days, whether it's in tags or 206s or what have you, I would make a mistake, go off the racetrack, almost like a rental cart. They were instantly eating up the grass. And then by the time we got into town with the Sunshine State Karting Challenge and it rained midway through Sunday, it was just nothing but mud all over the whole section from turns 1 and 2. The grass was mostly gone, so they were obviously going to have to replant the grass. But the thing is, obviously, if it rained again at SKUSA, they would only have had maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks time if they worked during Christmas, which was right after the SSKC event, to replant the grass and hope that would stick. So knowing that there's obviously a chance, it's South Florida, it could rain at any minute. Normally it's like the time that everybody down here takes a siesta for 15 minutes in the afternoon from 2 to 3 p.m. that it rains. They decided to do something a little bit different. So down from turn 1 to turn number 2 in that green patch, you'll notice that when we go live on our broadcast, it is just a red and white curb. It is a slightly different design with the divots in the ground. It is still a flat runoff curb with divots that go deep into the ground. No different than the way all the exit curbs were redone just to be like GoPro Motorplex as well. But now it is a fully wide curb, which is a lot like what we see at NOLA Motorsports Park and a few other racetracks. I think the grass sections were 10 feet across, plus they had about 2 or 3 feet wide curbing. So 13 feet almost of just straight up red and white curbing. I was out there at the track today for the first day of unofficial testing. They had a test weekend last weekend as well, where drivers got to go on and see the new curbing put in place down in turns 1 and 2. It's the only place where the grass really didn't have much of a chance just because the drivers getting punted wide on starts and stuff like that in the rain. So that's a little bit different. And it's another option for them if when we go the other direction, they see any of the grass start to get torn up. But I've got honestly pretty good hopes for going the other way, because by the time that we do switch the direction and start going backwards at the end of this month to prep for February, the grass will have already had nearly a month and a half time to set and root into the ground. So it should be in pretty good shape. But something interesting to note, of course, with the track change, and something that I wanted to make sure that we touched on before we went any bit further with the show, that the track's even a little bit different from when they first done it. And again, a huge round of applause to AMR and to Homestead Miami Speedway. From everyone that we've seen so far at the racetrack, they're not getting their ribs hurt with the curbing because they're not having to hit the inside curbs to go fast anymore. In fact, it's a little bit slower since they've been raised, which obviously Connor loves, because when Connor came here in junior a couple of years ago, when did you even hurt your ribs? I don't even remember exactly. It was during the practice. You didn't make it to race weekend, right?
2019?
Yeah.
I think so.
What day of the week did you end up getting hurt?
Oh, like the first or second, one of the practice days. So it was early. So
Yeah.
no fun. I think I had already raced. I want to say no. I think it was the first. Actually, no. It was the first round of Winter Series. I mean, look, Homestead's a good track, but going there 2 times for one series, just 4 races, 2 weekends at one track does not make sense to me. It's just like, I don't care if it's the best track in the world. I'd rather go to a different track.
Well, the good news on there, of course, we've dropped a little bit of a hint on it on this show. In 2023, actually by the summer here of 2022, there's a brand new racetrack opening in West Palm Beach, Florida, that is going to basically replace the market that was for the Palm Beach International Raceway, called PK Race Park. They've already started with everything else they have on the entertainment facility. It just took them a while to get the asphalt permits to go ahead and start paving, but they should be breaking ground actually really, really soon. I can't remember where I've seen the demo design of what the track's going to look like, but it's going to be like a 17 or 18 course track with the ability to go up to 1 mile, also with a rental track section and then an owner track section on a regular basis, very similar to how NOLA's set up, where NOLA, when we don't go there for the major pro races, normally has about a 3/4 mile owner kart track and about a 3/10 of a mile rental kart track. So that should be open and will be an option. And I know that there's a good relationship already building between AMR and the guys at PK Race Park. The PK Sports North America team is based here at AMR Motorplex. They've got their trailer on site almost 24/7. So that could mean some collaboration, and is obviously really great news for a new venue for 2023 of whatever we see on the Miami side of the Winter Tour Championships. We are going to take a quick commercial break, our first of 2 here of the show. When we come back, we are going to talk about some of the big names that we've got joining us on the X30 Pro Senior Field, other notes about Homestead, and of course, as always, we want to invite you guys to continue to send in your questions because we've got so many new guests on this show, and we want to give them the chance to answer any questions they may have. We've already got a few that we're definitely going to be talking about when we come at the end of the show. So stick with us, guys. KC Happy Hour rolls on. KC Happy Hour is presented by Precision Performance Karting. PPK is the exclusive South Florida dealer for Coyote Motorsports kart racing chassis and Coyote's newest distributor. However, owner John Seglem and Coyote Motorsports' relationship spans across numerous decades in the sport, meaning that you've got years of winning expertise at your service. PPK offers trackside support at all of the CKNA South Division events, the CKNA Majors, such as the Spring Nationals and the Grand Nationals, the Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and a number of club races in the Southeast. PPK also has an impressive driver roster at these events, racking up multiple wins and podiums in 2021 with longtime Coyote Motorsports driver Chris Carroll and KC Happy Hour's own Paulie Massimino and Brandon Jarsacrack. If you're looking to get on the same race-winning equipment as these drivers, from the Coyote Motorsports chassis to the Odenthal motor mounts and Greyhound racing seats, Precision Performance Karting has you covered. Check out Precision Performance Karting on Facebook and Instagram, or email them at ppkartingfl@gmail.com. There's a new engine program on the block that's already begun winning races. Speed Lab Racing Engines has already racked up wins in X30 classes at the U.S. Pro Kart Series and Rock GP classes at the most recent Rock Vegas event. Headed up by names you can trust, such as longtime engine builder Mario Lafredo and industry veteran Mike Speed, Speed Lab Racing Engines has quickly become the engine of choice for a number of top teams in the sport, most recently servicing the entire Rollison Performance Group and Speed Concepts Racing operations at Rock Vegas, and also servicing the likes of JC Karting and Mike Doty Racing. It won't be long before this engine program gets a wait list, with his resume already filling up with wins, so make sure to reach out and get your tune-up by emailing them at speedlabracinengines@gmail.com. All right, guys, welcome back here. And again, we mentioned we were going to talk about some of our heavy hitters that we've got on the list here for the X30 senior class. That was the first thing we really wanted to touch on when we came back, because we had a number of different storylines going into the event. We've got the list. We know, obviously, it was announced already on our we shared it on our Instagram and our Facebook pages. Ryan Norberg, defending three-time consecutive SKUSA Winter Series X30 champion, will not be back in action here this weekend. A number of other big-name U.S. guys will not be. Brandon Jarscrack sat it out the last 2 years as well, so he will not be there. Paulie Massimino from our show is on the entry list. There is a stacked rookie class coming up. We're going to get a handful of international drivers like we always do. There's always a lot of South American presence at these events. There's a couple of international guys from Europe joining us as well in the field. In terms of the big names, Rollison Performance Group does still have a lot of guns in the field. Reigning Pro Tour champion Hannah Greenemeyer is back for a full 2022 campaign this year. She's here for SKUSA Winter Series. Nate Cicero had a breakout second half of 2021, was a part of the 12-race win streak that Rollison Performance Group currently has in the X30 senior class. Since May of 2021, the team has yet to lose an X30 senior main event. They have split it between 4 drivers, with Ryan Norberg, of course, your Super Nationals 24 winner, won a bunch of main events. Nate Cicero got his initial win, even went on to win the Rock Vegas event. So really, if you go 125 senior events, RPG sweep goes all the way through all of that. And then Hayden Jones got that maiden victory, and Hannah Greenemeyer added to the win column as well, both in Utah and at GoPro Motorplex for the finale. So I want to make sure all of our guests have plenty of time to mention people. We'll go up and down the row. Everyone who's taking a look. Caleb Smock and Aaron Hachmeister. We'll kick it off with you two boys here, part of the broadcast crew. Caleb, who do you have your eye on here from the entry list, especially you've only seen a few of these guys in action in person, that you think could be a real guy to shake the ground here this weekend?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to go off of. Excuse me. Seeing that I've been only around national racing for a couple of years, or past 2 years. Both the Morgan brothers impressed me throughout the season. The first time I saw them was at the Miami Grands. They were competitive at SuperNats, both in X30 and in KA. I think they're going to be fast. Cicero, like you said, had a breakout season at the end of 2021. I think he'll be competitive to watch. Most of the MPG guys that are running under Ryan Perry, I think are going to be really fast, especially down in Florida. They've been there multiple times. I think they're going to be very good to watch down there.
Yeah, I mean, the big benefit with the RPM guys is they have such a massive group. They've got both Cole and Carson Morgan, as you mentioned. Jace Park entering his sophomore senior season, started his rookie year with Trinity Karting Group, is moving over to the RPM camp. Paulie Massimino, who has been kind of their leading gun, along with the Morgan brothers throughout the end of 2021, since his swap really was with them for the majority of the season, has been super impressive, and he's there. So they've got a big contingent of X30 seniors. The only big name guy that they don't have that was one of their flagship drivers from 2021 was Trey Brown. He's not here running this weekend. We talked a little bit about Trey in our preview episode last week. That we may not see Trey in action all too much, which is unfortunate because he is a super, super talented driver. But Aaron, you've obviously kept in tune as well, really well with a lot of the drivers on the entry list, and with so many different faces that we're going to see potentially at the front. Who do you have your eye on as well?
Yeah, well, obviously Hannah did super well this year, won SKUSA Pro Tour and all that. I remember one of my friends was telling me he was watching the LCQ, and they said, "Oh, Hannah's in here. Hannah doesn't make any mistakes." So a lot of high praise from some random guy at Vegas. I don't know, but I think she'll probably end up doing really well. Obviously, Polly Massimino should be really strong out there. Both of the Morgans. Louis Westover's in the field. He's coming in from Great Britain. He might be pretty strong. He's running a solo kart, which will be interesting to see. But I think he's been running that. He ran at Summer Nats. I don't remember if he was at Vegas or not. But he was pretty quick as well. All those guys, like super strong, super competitive drivers. I just had one of the Trinity drivers I was looking at, and I cannot remember who it was. Who's the Canadian that they have? I'm blanking on names. Naveau is super quick. So at Vegas, he might end up coming and running really well as well. And
Jenna,
obviously Nate Cicero as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Nate's going to be really good. Jenna, I'm sorry, I wanted to push it over to you, but good points. Jenna, you're obviously going to be joining Caleb down on the pit lane, so you've got your list of notes and guys that you're making mental notes on to kind of keep an eye on, especially in the headline class. Anyone else here mentioned you've got your eye on too?
I mean, I agree with Caleb with the Morgan brothers. I think Carson showed some real strength in his first senior race at SuperNats and even had was in the running for the win. As young as he is, I think that both of the Morgan brothers and everyone at RPM with Polly is definitely going to be a force to reckon with. I agree with Hannah. She's been in nothing but the top 3 for the most part for the last races that I can remember. And I think that both of all the RPM drivers and Hannah will be pretty much a force to reckon with.
Race, what about yourself, man? We were talking. There's one guy I know you and I were talking about that you had your eye on.
Yeah, I really like Alessandro DiTullio. He's been fast everywhere he's gone in the last year, and now we're coming to, a series that at a track that he is experienced at, that he's had a lot of success at in the past. So I think he'll be good. And honestly, I got my eye on Jeremy Fletcher. Nobody said Jeremy Fletcher yet. Again, kid that's got some laps there. Hell of a racer, good driver, obviously. So I think he'll be quick. And I'm interested to see how the Morgan brothers do. I don't know how many times they've been there and done that, but to me, and the reason I say that, I think you can see some different guys go pretty quick down that way because it's, the locals actually, at least when you had to hit the curbs, you had to know how to get around that place to be fast. So I don't know how much of that's going to change, but I think you're still going to see the locals shine a little bit more down at AMR than maybe they would some other places. So I think the Florida natives are gonna shine a little bit here.
Connor, what about yourself, man? You obviously had a breakout weekend in February there last year on the Miami side. Kicked your off. You had a streak of your own, actually, where you went, I think, almost like 5 or 6 weekends where you had a main event win, at least in every single senior weekend you had from the start.
Yeah, the first quarter of last year was good, and then obviously G took over. But I think Mateus Morgado and Noel Leon will be two of the fastest. No one said them, but every time they race, I feel like they're up front. So I would find it hard that they would not be up front at this race. I mean, Noel, I remember racing him in junior. Morgado, he's been in Europe a lot, racing with Burrell, and he's on a Tony kart now. So I think he'll be up front for sure.
Yeah, Mateus Morgado is linking up with he was there this today testing a little bit. He's linking up with his good old buddy and Ariel Castro. They were not a lot of guys remember. This goes all the way back when Connor was in Mini. I say all the way back. It was like last week, but we go back to New Orleans for SKUSA Pro Tour 2017, and Morgado was back when Ariel Castro was kind of heading up the Parallel USA camp. It's changed, just like any chassis manufacturer. It's changed importership over the years since then. But he was phenomenal. And he was one of the kids that was super, super good over the curbs over there. He's been really fast here. I think he probably would have been maybe a little bit faster if he was under a different program with a little bit of a different setup over the last couple of years when he's come back to the Florida Winter Tour. So he's a guy that could be really impressive. We go back. The only other events we really got to go off of with this new layout is the Sunshine State Karting Challenge that I was at on day one. DiTullio, Fletcher right up front. DiTullio working on his second full senior season. He's kicked it off here. He was the driver to beat besides Norberg, arguably a little bit faster than Norberg on day one of the main events, won the pre-final. So he won the very first race session of the 2021 season, and obviously had his ups and downs throughout the year, was leading all the way up until an engine problem took him out of the Rock Vegas event. So, and he's a guy who doesn't get a ton of seat time. I talked about it on a previous show. He's super, super impressive when he does. He was able to test a little bit this past weekend and a lot at the Sunshine State Karting Challenge event where he won on Saturday. But another driver who's, I think, could be a real sleeper pick. First of all, we have to talk about Aaron Benoit, obviously, was super fast last year. Granted, he's coming in with a little bit less seat time. He only was able to make it over to the SKUSA Supernats, so he didn't end up running the full summer of 2021 like he was originally planning to, but he's a Florida-based guy, was super fast over the curbing. And Tyler McIntyre is set up for his sophomore senior season, and he won on Sunday at the Sunshine State Karting Challenge. He's under the Motaz Sport Burrell Art banner. What impressed me the most about that is and I don't know this for sure, but I could have sworn he swapped from a 2021 Burrell Art to a 2022 from Saturday to Sunday and went from a 5th place guy to becoming a leading the race by 1.5 plus seconds guy. So McIntyre has been really fast here at the regional races. He was even really fast in his opening senior event, which was the SSKC event back in December of 2020. So setting up for his 2021 rookie year, and kind of had an up and down year even through Winter Series, had some pace, just couldn't really get there. I think got muscled around a little bit by some of the senior drivers, but now that he's got a full year under his belt, he's a guy that I've kind of got my eye on. Frankie Mossman, obviously we got to give Frankie some love because he was super impressive in Las Vegas, but as Race mentioned, he's not a Florida native, California based, so long way to go to get over there. And John Burke is another senior sophomore from a very, very strong, honestly, 2021 rookie class going into senior. Burke making a switch over to Super Tune USA. He's back onto a Tony kart, which is where he contended for his junior championships and many junior race wins. Last year spent almost all year. He started on Super Tune at Florida Winter Tour, only on the Rock weekends, went over for the Burrell Art PSL karting camp and kind of had some pace here and there. Had a rough run, ultimately was involved with Brandon Jarskrak in the LCQ first lap wreck at Supernats, I think after a wreck in the heat races as well, but was a top 20 place go-kart at least pace-wise over in Las Vegas on Burrell. So now that he's back on an OTK, we'll see how he does. And he was another guy like Connor who was subject to the rib injuries, which is I think why he didn't run the SKUSA Winter Series last year, but is here this year. So again, that's obviously great news for SKUSA that they're getting some guys that maybe would have avoided this track because of the rib injuries they've either had gotten during a weekend or had gotten in the past are coming back now. So it's going to be a lot of different faces. We're going to have Caleb and Jenna talking to a whole lot of them on the live stream. And we had a couple questions already here. This one from Rafael Perini asking, we are streaming the races, right? And that is correct. And I wanted to go ahead and make sure we played it. We posted this video on our socials. Goes over all the details of how and where you can watch the live streams for this weekend, because we are going to be going live beginning with Saturday qualifying all the way through to the Sunday main events. So let's go ahead. We'll cue that up right now.
So now that we've announced everywhere that we're going to be going to live stream races in 2022, let's go over how you guys can watch and where you can watch. At each race we go to, we'll be going live beginning with the first class on track and qualifying all the way through to the end of the day with main events and podiums, with some sessions free to watch and some of it part of our $10 per month subscription plan. For every qualifying session, heat race, pre-final, and or last chance qualifier, you'll be able to watch free on our YouTube page, our Facebook page, and the Series or Promoters Facebook pages as well. Then, if you want to watch the main events live, you'll be able to do that on our YouTube channel's premium subscription for $10 per month. And if you can't afford to do it, you'll be able to watch the replay of the main events for free after the race weekend's over. To sign up for our $10 per month premium subscription on YouTube, it's super simple. As long as you're signed into your YouTube account, go to our page, hit the join button, put in your payment information, and you'll notice even at the bottom, YouTube doesn't bill you until the 30th day of the first month. Now you may be wondering, why even do a subscription plan at all? And the truth is, broadcasts are expensive. We've got a big team to put on these productions, and even with the help of the series and event promoters and advertisers, it still costs a lot. And we also want to do them bigger and better every single event we go to. And hey, if you can't or don't want to join the $10 per month subscription plan, you can still watch all the racing sessions with qualifying, heat races, pre-finals, LCQs live for free, and of course the main events on replay after the race weekend. But if you do want to join our $10 per month subscription membership plan, and you join before we go live on Saturday, January 8th at AMR Motorplex in Homestead for our first event of the year, you'll be entered into a t-shirt giveaway for our limited edition Kart Chaser Miami t-shirt, the first of the city limited edition t-shirts we'll be doing this year. In the end, we're only here because of all the love and support you guys have shown us and continue to show us, whether it's liking, commenting, and sharing on all of our posts, supporting us through our apparel options, and any other way following along with the journey so far. And we can't wait to get the year started live from Miami.
And so that's right, folks. Again, if you guys do want to watch the live streams this weekend, you'll be able to watch for free qualifying, pre-finals, and post at the end of the day podiums on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page, which is either the ways you guys are watching our show right now. You'll just be able to go to our page and watch it. We'll also make sure that we're cross-posted over to the SuperCar2 USA Facebook page for those sessions. And then for the finals only, that'll be behind our YouTube's premium membership, which you guys can see on the YouTube channel, both right now or after the show. $10 per month. It bills you on the 30th day, so you're not going to get billed instantly. Just saves the payment information. And that's a monthly fee that's going to cover over 20 plus races throughout the year, including the likes of the SKUSA Winter Series opening with this weekend, the Rock Florida Winter Tour, the US Pro Kart Series full schedule, the Stars Championship Series, the Route 66 Sprint Series on there as well, and the Texas Sprint Racing Series and IAMA USA Grand National Championship. We're hoping to add more and more events to keep getting you filled up with hopefully as many as 3 or 4 a month. So there's going to be a lot of racing coming your guys' way here with that. And as shown in the video, we do have a special edition Kart Chaser Miami t-shirt that I did want to show you guys. This t-shirt, we've got it for pre-order right now. It is able to be delivered to the racetrack. They're going to arrive here Friday in Homestead. So if you're coming to Homestead or you're coming down to the SKUSA Winter Series, you can pre-order, get free shipping if you show up here to the racetrack. You'll also be able to get it delivered to the Rock Florida Winter Tour event at Pompano. And then as soon as we sell out of all these, which we've got more than enough units to at least get us through both those weekends, I believe, we're not going to restock them. We'll do a different design for each city we try to go to this year. But for this limited edition Kart Chaser Miami design, you can go ahead on our website right now and go ahead and make sure you got one reserved, or you can get it shipped to you. They'll ship out as soon as we get home from the Rock Florida Winter Tour event in Pompano. So they'll ship out on January 19th. So you'll get them by the end of the month if you want to have it delivered to your house. But that's an option as well. And we've got our crew back. Let's go back through any other final thoughts here. I think we had a few more on the entry list we want to talk about. We're going to take one more commercial break and go through it. But I think we talked about just about everybody highlighted. I did want to mention Noah Baker. That's another kid who's had a lot of speed at his events. And Race, you can speak on this as well as Connor. Connor and me spoke on this along with our regular crew about the transition for junior to senior, and it's a major shift in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the most obvious is no more engine restrictor and tire, but looking at guys who may have a lot of pace, but maybe struggle with the senior racecraft, or vice versa, the racecraft and junior maybe won't work in senior. What do you think are the biggest things some of these rookies need to keep in mind going into this weekend?
I think the most.
Oh,
go ahead.
No, Connor, go ahead.
I think that the most important thing when you're moving up is you can't go up and expect to treat the seniors like you did the juniors. Because, I mean, my last 6 months of junior, I could go out there and I kind of just felt like the boss over everyone, and I could bully everyone on the track. And then when I got to senior, I tried doing that in like one heat race and realized, yeah, this isn't going to work. So you just got to gain everyone's respect going into it. And if you go out there and treat everyone like a butt, then nobody's going to want to race with you. So you got to go out there the first weekend, and even if you don't win, you don't want to go out there and make enemies right out of the gate. So go out there, stay calm, and just take everything in as a learning experience.
Race?
I say just go out there and send it. No, I think seriously, what Connor said, I think you can, as a head junior driver, there's a sense of something you got there that you're the boss at some point, and you walk into senior with that attitude and you're going to get shot down immediately by some guy for passing 15th. So that's not going to happen. So, gaining that respect for the drivers around you, a lot of those front runners, usually the top 10 or 15 in the senior field, all race each other on a regular level or on a regular basis, and they have a level of respect for one another, and at least how to know, really can navigate around racing each other. So That's going to be a huge step. And I think just the intensity as soon as you move up to senior, I mean, the intensity level that you may have is either matched or even gone over the top of some of the guys in senior. So, making a small mistake is going to bite you a little bit faster than it may have in junior. So really just setting into where you're going to be and progressing from there is probably, I would say, going to be the best thing for them. But there's kids, like I said, I mentioned Jeremy Fletcher is one of my favorites going in. I raced wheel to wheel with him 2 weeks ago, and dude can race you, clean and hard and aggressive, and he's not going to take any shit. So, there's those kids with that mentality or the level of experience and talent kids like Connor have when they moved up. You're not necessarily worried about them. You're just kind of, when they fit in and where they find their groove in senior, they're going to truck forward and be successful.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to go ahead and send it off to our final commercial break of the night. Keep on sending in your questions, any other questions you guys have. When we come back, we'll give our final thoughts all the way through our entire crew before you see a few of these faces live on our live stream later on this weekend. So stick with us, guys, our last commercial break, and then we'll come back here for KC Happy Hour, episode number 24, live on Wednesday, January 5th.
Kart Store USA is a kart parts supplier that racers and retailers can count on when they need reliable advice and service. We focus on servicing all racers with honesty and pride while maintaining customer satisfaction. We carry a full stock of Kart Republic and Tony Kart chassis, as well as IAMI and Vortex Rock engines. We've also got a host of other parts available and in stock, such as products from Rev Performance Materials, Jecco Racing Seats, and more. We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, and on top of that, if your order exceeds $200, shipping is on us. Check out all we have to offer today by visiting us online at kartstore-usa.com.
As the Western importer of the Praga and Formula K chassis brands, Leading Edge Motorsports is a high-performance kart shop and race team with a simple mission: teach others the joy of high-performance driving, supply our customers with the highest quality products and services, and most of all, win races. With our remarkable racing inventory, expert services, and top-ranked national-level team to back it up, we'll help to get your new kart racing package up and running fast. From arrive and drive service to kart preparation and driver coaching to the parts you need to get you back on the racetrack, Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer.
I'm Billy Vincent, owner of MPG Motorsports. What we do at MPG is we try to keep it a nice, fun family atmosphere, try to combine sort of the bigger things and of the bigger teams and the professionalism down with sort of some of the fun sort of family-oriented atmosphere. We try to not only develop drivers, but also the parents and the families for just in knowledge in general in motorsports. It all starts in karting. What we try to do is try to help the drivers, the moms, the dads understand the sport of motorsports in general, not just karting, but what it takes to get all the way up through. Whether you end up wanting to be a driver or a mechanic or an engineer, we can help you with that, and that's what we're here for. If you're interested in joining us at MPG, our home base is at Whiteland Raceway Park in Indianapolis, and you can contact us at info@willpowerkart.com, and one of our great people will reach out to you, and we'll try to put the best program together.
All right, guys, welcome on back here. We wanted to go through final and closing thoughts before we got to all your questions that have been submitted so far, so you can continue to submit those down below in the comment section on YouTube or Facebook for myself or anyone that we have here on the team. Jenna, obviously, is the newest member on our KC broadcast team. I'll let you kick things off. What are your thoughts, final thoughts, or stuff you're excited about going into the weekend?
Can you hear me, first of all?
We can, yes, absolutely.
Okay. I'm super excited. I leave for Miami at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm from Milwaukee, so a bit of a hike, but I'm very excited to see what KartWeek can do. I think that us signing the SKUSA Winter Tour, Winter Tour was one of our last series we signed, and it was a bit of an ordeal. Not really, but like getting Winter Tour on was like our last like check mark on like lists of races we really want to be at. And so I'm really excited to show them what we can do and see what gnarly stuff happens without pushback bumpers.
Yeah, that stuff's going to be pretty crazy, especially down by turn number 1, which is right next to the grid corner. Again, we want to talk. We're going to have a really good camera angle. So everyone that's excited to see what the pushbacks are going to look like, we'll get a good view. Race, what about yourself, man? You're going to be having a weekend at home. I hope you can get to watch a little bit while you're working, but looking into the weekend, what are you final thoughts for anyone that's watching or coming in town?
I'll actually be testing in California this weekend, but I will be watching, and I did sign up for the live stream thing literally just to watch the first mini main start. I want to really watch that. So I think there's going to be some carnage, and I think your ratings are going to be through the roof. So kudos to Karting for making it more entertaining that way. But no, I'm interested to see what happens on track. I think the guys that have some respect for one another are going to be fine, and the guys that decide to abuse that power that they now have are, going to get taken care of. So I'm excited to watch some cool racing and see how, I'm really interested to see what the outcome is with the video penalties and, the stewards doing it all over video now with SKUSA. So interested to see how that turns out, but hope for the best.
Caleb?
I'm excited to get down to Miami. It's about 15 degrees here in Indiana, so I'm excited to get somewhere warm. It's going to be fun. This all started for me when we did the Miami Grands out in North Carolina, so I can't wait to go down to Miami and screw up some more people's names.
That's actually what I'm really excited for. But none of those guys entered. Brandon Jorsacrack isn't racing.
I feel like
Jorsacrack isn't running? Oh no, what am I going to do?
I feel like when you enter into a
Masi
race,
Pino.
include like pronunciation, because like people don't pronounce Tommy. Like that was always a thing. And they're just.
I thought your last name was Thome.
Yeah, I was about to say. I
don't think I've ever heard my last name.
Jenna Thome. The only way to say
not
your
fair.
name is Hachmeister.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, don't worry, Caleb. You'll find plenty more to mess up. Don't worry.
Do you
about
have to say it? Do you have to hawk my like?
Yeah, you have to get some phlegm in there and
you
come right out of your mouth.
Power into
I just think we should have a class on this because Lace Liberante is the best guy ever. If you ask him about
Lace
how to do it. Lace Liberante. That's we established that out in Vegas. We're under the tent together. So he should just lead a class on how to pronounce people's names if you ask him.
Yeah.
That's my.
I don't know if
alter
all
ego.
of races. I don't know if all of races names for drivers are like we can put up on the stream if we're gonna have families watching.
Oh no.
I don't think we can.
They're
let
nice.
90% of this list.
I don't think we'll be
No,
able to
they're not.
charge money
They're
for it if we do.
They're
What
creative.
they are is they're creative. They're very creative.
That's just how Race he expresses himself.
Oh, we had some bad ones
What?
we thought of in North Carolina too. After we realized how bad Caleb was messing some of them up, and I know one of them for Ryan Norberg. I cannot say on here.
Oh man, Connor, let's get back on track and give you a shot here to give some thoughts because you're coming to town to coach, right?
No, I'll be in
What?
Sebring. I'm doing all the other.
No.
Literally, this is the only SKUSA or USPCast event that I'm missing. So I'll
Ridiculous.
be in Sebring testing TA2 car, getting ready
All
for
right.
the
Ooh,
season.
big fancy
I got
guy,
like
baby.
big
All
boy.
Look at Big
I
Shot
got my big
Zilla
boy grandson.
driving a
Hey, Big
TNT
Shot.
car.
So this is the one that I'm missing. I kind of am upset about it, but luckily I'll be able to watch thanks to Xander and the crew. So I'm excited for that. I think it's good, really good for the sport. Really, it's just going to bring more people into it. So I think it's a good thing for everyone in the sport, and I think it's going to help to keep the sport continuing in an upward trend. So I'm excited to watch. I'm sure I'll be watching in between practice sessions, seeing the mayhem that's going on over there. Glad I'm not in it, and I'm excited to get coaching the rest of the year.
Aaron, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like I've already said, I'm super excited for no pushbacks to see how that goes. I think senior will be fine because even the new kids that are coming in raced at some point without pushbacks. But like we have micros and the minis whose parents are just going to tell them like, all right, drive through everyone now. That's going to be interesting to see to start. Junior is going to be like a 50-50 on it. And Masters has always been a crapshoot. So who knows what's going to happen there. I think the broadcast is hopefully going to go super well like it did at the Grands, and it's just going to be a whole lot of fun. I had a great time at the Grands when we were out there, so let's just keep that going, and everything's going to fall into place pretty well, I think.
Yeah, it should be good. We've got all our equipment. Again, we wanted to get out here really early. Trevor and I drove all 22 hours out from Dallas, Texas to get out here over the last 2 days, get in last night. Everything's all in. Everything's right on schedule for the broadcast. We may end up doing a little bit of live stream testing from Friday practice, and I don't know if we'll get that the one show I was hoping to get to. I talked about it on last happy hour that I really want to be able to do live versions of not just happy hour, but other types of race weekend side shows. That would also all be free to watch, whether it's like, again, NASCAR race day live, how they used to do it in the mornings, pre-race, post-race shows, whether it's victory lane celebrations that we talk a little bit more, or, again, I think it'd be a lot of fun to have a Friday night show after a race weekend, right after practice is done, or even after the first round of heats in the case of Florida Winter Tour Rock with the way their format works. I think that'd be a blast. So I don't think we'll have any of that stuff this weekend, but we've got a lot of cool stuff in the works to kind of keep working on the streaming. Obviously, I wanted to get to all the questions that we've got, and this one's actually kind of an open-ended question, so I'll let anyone who wants to take it. This one's from Brody Shootcard asking if anyone has a preference over Rock and SKUSA. Connor's ran both. Race, you've run both.
I think that's not good. I think it depends on your preference. For us, honestly, like, so, my personal answer when anybody asks me is like, my Rock engines are better, so we go there. No, I think there's pros and cons to each. I think there's things that certain people like about each and don't like about other ones. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the new fuel at SKUSA. I didn't like the way it tuned. It didn't cause a problem, but when you add up those little things that you may or may not like about a series, let your own experience express where you go. How about that?
There we go. It's a good one. Connor.
I'm
kidding, Connor. You don't have to answer.
Okay.
He's like, Trans Am. I prefer Trans Am.
I'm just trying to make sure Connor doesn't get in trouble. Connor doesn't get fined for his answers, but he normally gets a spanking afterwards. He's normally taken care of for saying something dumb on the stream. So I'm not going to put Connor in that spot again. Thoughts on the Tillotson 225? This is actually from Ethan McKay. I don't think anyone here has a ton of experience with it. I've seen the motor starting to get some traction over in Orlando. Obviously, it's based out of Anderson Race Park with the U.S. guys working it from Jake Motaz and Bryn Nuttall and Ryan Child. They're putting a lot of emphasis. I think the biggest thing about it is that it brings competition and puts some pressure on the Briggs guys, which is obviously competition just breeds innovation. I don't think we would have the level of video review at SKUSA if there wasn't the video review competing at the time with the Florida Winter Tour back under the Rotax ownership. And I don't think any of the series would have the tall banner flags if the Gear Up F series with Marco Oldhaver didn't have tall banner champions flags beforehand. I know that's for sure where WK got their idea, and I can't imagine the USPKS, Route 66, SKUSA, and Rock got the same thing from theirs as well. So it's good for four-cycle racing in a way that there's competition. It's obviously not great if you look at the sport from like a very glass half full type deal, because you want there to be one single engine that's easy to go to. But the motor's still in R&D. I will say just, we talk a lot in racing, especially like with chassis, that support matters almost more than even the material you're on. I know that they've got a good support team with it and they're really working with the motor, but it's really early to say how good or great of an engine is, because until it gets into mass production, then you see if there's any parity issues, or until we get to the national level racing any kind of motor and we see all the really, really smart guys on all the big teams and the major engine builders actually put focus in, which is what we've seen the evolution to the X30, starting to see with the K, I've seen with the Rock motors, and so on. So we'll keep on going down here. Obviously, I love Chris Nachtman. I want to give a big shout out to him. I love when he comes in our comment section, and he just brings so much, spice in here. Connor's smiling because he knows exactly what I'm talking about here. This is first, he's giving a little shout out to him and, giving some suggestions of what Connor could spend his time with before he goes out to Sebring,
Yeah. For explanation on that, I was at Chris's house with Paulie, Brooke, Taryn, Nathan Martin for New Year's Eve, and Chris got a pizza oven for Christmas, so we were making pizza, like homemade pizza in the pizza oven, and I was the doughboy, so that's what he's referring to.
It's very, very fitting.
I was
for
the
you,
doughboy.
That's a good job.
It was fun though. I really enjoyed it.
Let's see. Going on down, we had a few more. Race, this one's targeted just for you from one of your viewers himself. This is from Mr. Brody Schuker, asking, what do you think about old Gage Korn?
So actually, I don't know if he's asking if he's moving up to junior, but this will be Gage's last year in cadet. He may look like a 13-year-old kid based on size, but he just turned 11. So he'll have one more year in cadet, and I actually think he's going to shine this year. He got a chance to go to the Rotax Worlds and learned a ton there, and actually, at one point, finished third in a couple of heat races, and had fast lap of the weekend. So the kid's got the speed. We've always just we've been working on his racecraft as the last few years I've been working with him, and he's getting better every single weekend. So I truly think with some of the other kids like his teammate John moving up and Enzo Vinamontian and some of these kids that have a little bit longer time in cadet, now this being his senior season, I think he's going to shine. So I'm hoping for the best for him and can't wait to get started with those guys out at Challenge.
Yeah, Challenge of the Americas is the the West Coast version of the Florida Winter Tour. It is one event that is growing again since they moved over to the Rock platform every single year. Andy Saisman does a great job running those events. We haven't been out there under the Kart Chaser brand of them before, but obviously we'd love to get out there. E-Karting News, our buddies over there, they're going to be covering that. And we'll be having the full live audio stream that they do. They'll probably do some more Trackside Live, Facebook Lives that they like to do as well. Hopefully, anyway. I don't want to make sure I put words in Rob's mouth that he's got to do more work now than he was already planning to. But yeah, Challenge will be good, and we'll be watching along because we have a lot of guys that are top shifter guys and a lot of top single speed guys that run out there that don't make it all the way down to Florida to start off the year. SJ Perkins was asking if we're going to focus some more on shifters this year. Our videos are going to change a little bit, actually, with the way the live streams are. We've got a different type of video series that's kind of like my baby that I'm really working on, and I'm really excited about how it's going to debut. Comes out starting in February to give us time to go through the events and focus on some of the top senior and shifter drivers specifically. And then obviously with the live stream, that'll be every single class. And hopefully with the SKUSA Pro Tour moving into the KZ classes, or having the KZ classes be a push, it's still kind of like a reset button for them, at least at the end of last year. I'd like to hope and think that they'll have at least 20 plus when we roll out in New Orleans for Pro Shifter, and that would be really, really cool. Because other than that, the shifter guys, sponsored or not, normally only get to look at, like right now with the way the landscape is, 4 major events for the year. Either they normally run the Challenge of the Americas and they go run Rock Vegas, or they run the Rock Florida Winter Tour on the East Coast and then go run Rock Vegas. And a handful of guys have run both Winter Tour and Challenge of the Americas, but it's a logistical nightmare because you go from coast to coast 3 months in a row, back-to-back weeks. So it's super, super tight. But in short, SJ, we're hoping to have definitely more shifter stuff and more of every class. We had a couple.
Can we jump back to the 225 for a second? I just got a text from Billy Vincent. He said we put a 225 on our mini bike. So, hey, he tried to put an X30 on it originally, or a Leopard. I think it was a Leopard. He tried to put a Leopard on a pit bike. So
Billy is crazy.
Yeah,
madman.
Sounds like Billy.
He's a great guy. I like him, but yeah, they have a 225 on the pit bike right now.
No, Billy's awesome. We love Billy here at Kart Chaser. He's an awesome dude. And MPG Motorsports, obviously a partner of the show and a huge supporter of all that we do. A few more questions here that we've got. Let's see, coming on down. These are just questions about the live stream. We'll get to those. I'll DM all the guys we have about the live streams here. Oh, this is actually a great question that we have not asked since we've started. We're 24 episodes in, and no one's asked this. Why is Connor's bed in the living room? Connor.
I don't know if you can see it. Oh, I forgot it's like backwards. But over there, those are the stairs. This is basement. So this is our like.
Connor lives in the basement.
We are planning on moving out of this house, so it's stuff's kind of just thrown everywhere. And we had so much furniture from our old house, and we didn't really know what to do with it. So we kind of just scattered stuff everywhere, and somehow a bed ended up in the. And a sim ended up in a living room, and that's a kitchen. So yeah, it's just everything is just thrown in random places like a tornado came through here. So don't worry about it.
Let's
Just don't even.
You got the couch in the
It's
back.
a sensitive topic.
Yeah, there's a couch. There's a couch over there, a bed over there, and then a kitchen. 15 feet away.
You got a whole apartment just in your basement.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm surprised you don't ever leave that thing.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a couple more here before the end of the show. This one was asking how many X30 senior entries. You'll see the full pre-entry list on the eKarting News preview article coming out tomorrow. We were just talking about some of the big name guys that we know are coming, big name guys we don't know are coming. But they are at least 30 plus, if not already 35 plus. Walk-up registration, I already saw a few today when we were getting set up. Normally, they always manage to hit exactly right at that 40 to 44 number, or at least high 30s here for SKUSA Winter Series. I got to imagine that it's probably going to be right around that same number. So X30 Senior is a full grid. Looking at practice today for Wednesday unofficial testing. It's not part of the weekend. Thursday is also unofficial testing. In years past, we normally saw about 50% of the field here on Wednesday, somewhere over 100 to 125. If we ended up somewhere in the 225 to 250 on the total entry mark by the end of it. So X30 Senior, there were already at least 25 guys I counted on the grid today, which means there's probably going to be a total number of 40 when we get here to the race weekend. And I got to imagine all the other classes looking pretty good. X30 Junior looks good. Micro is looking good across the board for 2022, which is really, really great to see for the sport, that the younger classes are going to come on up. And there's a lot of minis going into junior, micros into minis, so those classes should be healthy. The shifter stuff's a little bit light, but like I said, even though SKUSA's been kind of messing with the 175 and now moving the KZ engine in, the majority of the field opted to run the KZ motor at SummerNats and at SuperNats. So in my opinion, it's still like a reset year. And this is kind of year 1 or 1.5 of SKUSA having a KZ shifter class, even though the 175 is still part of it and it's still just a named pro shifter. So the shifter numbers are a little light, but they've always been a little bit light here on the IAME side or the KZ side in Florida, because Rock has been here for over a decade. And that's where all the Florida locals and Florida regionals normally have as their shifter motor. So that's the only class that's going to be a little bit light this weekend, but we'll see when they come up, of course. And two more here before we close the show out. This is from Zach Collins talking about Ryan's decision to take a break from racing. So Ryan is just missing out on the SKUSA Winter Series. He is actually still going to be in action for the rest of this year, just not running the winter program. He's still at the racetrack, still doing coaching with RPG. Hey, I mean, he could have just made SuperNats his perfect way to go out. I mean, he finally got the crown jewel he was missing. So I don't know if anyone else has any other thoughts here. Connor, I don't want to hear anything from you, Mr. Transland, but yeah, I mean,
I can quit the show if you want me to, Xander. Like, I don't need, like, I just spent an hour and 15 minutes of my time to be here. And
no, Connor, we need the ratings. We need the ratings. You can't go anywhere.
Like I do.
We love you, Connor.
We need the living room bed.
We need the living room bed, and it's an aesthetic part of the show now at this point with the blue light and everything. No,
Connor, colors. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've seen it red before. He was trying to seduce some girls watching or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
With that beautiful smile he's got, I mean, how would you not? If I was 14, I'd be over there.
Oh, wow. You guys are talking highly of me.
It's technically still illegal to say that, Xander.
Oh, wait, hold on. We're off the show. I'm kidding.
Casey after hours.
No, but in all seriousness, I think Race can talk to this year. Caleb and Aaron, you guys also pay your own bills. Can't blame Ryan if he wants to make a little bit extra money, if it pays the bills a little better to not be a driver, right?
I was going to say for Norberg Nation, he's only taking 2 weekends off, not the end of the world. So he'll be back. No,
yeah, I get,
why not make some focus on the team for 1 weekend, maybe help your teammates out a little bit more off track.
I think his teammates are doing just fine. But yeah. But no, it's good for Ryan. He's been running around like a chicken with his head cut off, racing. I mean, he like I felt busy, and like I'd like look at his Instagram, and he's racing these races that I don't even know of, and I'm like, I feel bad for you, man. That's like it's a job for you. Like, well, obviously it's a job for him, but like it's like he works his butt off. So I think it's good that he can kind of take a step back from being behind the wheel.
Yeah. It's nice
and give someone else a chance to win.
It's nice to take a weekend when I race and then I go coach. It's so much more relaxed. I really like that. It's also like, for me, I run on a pretty low budget, but it's like a $2,500 swing in terms of budgets. Instead of spending $1,500 to go run a USPKS event, which I'd like, okay, I'm not great, I end up making $1,000 working for somebody else at a USPKS event. So it's a big swing in terms of like how much money you're spending and making and stuff like that as well, which I can understand. Being an adult now, you gotta worry about stuff like that.
Right, race. I mean, you know the life. You don't pay $1 for your racing. Everyone just everyone else in Italy.
That used to be the case. I decided to make my own, and well, nobody. Yeah, now it's on me. So I just swipe my credit card. That's all I do. So I don't. Yeah, don't worry about it.
You're not
keep going racing
for it. The credit card's paying for it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Thank you, Wells Fargo.
All right, last question. This was also for Freddie Sugar. Ticks for rookie shifter driver. So none of us have much of a background. Caleb, have you driven a shifter? You're the only one I know besides race that would have some seat time in one, yeah?
That's why I used to race with shifters before I did this.
I'm
Yeah,
actually
so-
really experienced in driving shifter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about Jenna. Reigning champion.
I'm not a shifter driver, but I can give advice to a rookie shifter driver, and it goes for it doesn't matter what go-kart you're in. The best way to get better is to just do laps. So there's no like I've said probably a couple times on the show. There's not one way to go fast. It's just you just got to do laps and put time in, and speed will come.
Yes, sir. Race, anything else to add there? And then Caleb?
No, I mean, it's I don't know if they're just a rookie in general. If you're just a rookie in general, I don't know why people go straight to shifters. But if you're new to shifter karting, the biggest difference is obviously banging gears around the racetrack, and eventually with enough repetition, you don't have to count after a while. You know what gear you're supposed to be in and how many times you up and down shift on the straightaway and into a corner. So repetition, that's it. Keep pounding laps and just work on consistency, because the more consistent you can be in a shifter, the better.
Caleb?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Repetition and maybe hit the gym, because it can get a little physical, and it's better to be on top of things if you're in peak condition than if you're just a little limp.
That's for sure.
And go deeper.
Oh, there you go.
That's it.
Yeah, go deeper. Yeah, you break out. Yeah, drive it a little bit harder. Well, folks, that's going to wrap up our show here for tonight. Obviously, huge thanks to our on-camera crew. Connor is not getting kicked off the show, so we were going to keep Connor around, at least for a little bit while longer. But Caleb, Aaron, and Jenna are on their way here to Miami. You'll see Jenna and Caleb in front of the camera. Race is going to be busy over in California getting ready for the Challenge of the Americas. If everyone here online, again, send us any questions you guys have got. If we didn't get to them on the show, I love getting to answer them and help any guys out. And we can always save them for the next week's show as well. When we come back and wrap up SKUSA Winter Series, prep for Florida Winter Tour, and then the week after that, maybe bring Race back on in some way to help us preview the Challenge of the Americas event out on the West Coast. So, again, the live stream's coming this weekend. It's our first of 20+ on the year. Thanks, as always, for tuning in to KC Happy Hour, guys. We'll see you guys next time.